Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that dominates in today's edition for Wednesday, 10th September 2025, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. The BBC reports that law enforcement in Europe on the losing side in the fight against transatlantic drug trade. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. Law enforcement agencies across Europe have admitted that they are struggling to stop the growing quantity of cocaine crossing the Atlantic from South America. More in this BBC News item.
Now, the agency that coordinates the European response to illegal drug trafficking says too many shipments of cocaine are getting through because of a shortage of boats to intercept them. The Maritime Analysis and Operations Centre, which is a collaboration between 8 EU member states and the UK, says as many as 100 suspect ships weren't stopped or searched last year. Panorama's Darragh McIntyre reports.
If you look on the ground, there is a lot of little pots for using cocaine.
The UK's habit is getting worse. Since 2011, cocaine-related deaths have risen more than tenfold.
It tells me that if you want to have a war on drugs, you're losing, and losing badly.
Some drug traffickers are using Ireland as a backdoor to the UK, as the country has the lowest defence spending in Europe.
The narcotics superhighway comes right across the Atlantic, and one of the first countries it reaches is Ireland. So geographically, we're highly exposed. Our territorial waters are a free-for-all, really. It's like the Wild West out there.
One drug bust in 2023 shows the scale of the problem. Traffickers based in Dubai bought their own cargo ship, the MV Matthew, for around £10 million. On the surface, it looked legitimate, but its sole purpose was trafficking drugs. Its only cargo, cocaine. When it reached Irish waters, the traffickers sent a trawler to collect the drugs. But the trawler ran aground in a storm, and its crew called the Coast Guard to save them. The Irish Navy had only one ship at sea. It fired warning shots when the MV Matthew refused to change direction.
Please do not fire at us. My crew now panicking, crying, over.
You have no cause to be afraid. All I ask is that you proceed to Cork Harbour. Over.
The crew ignored the order, so Irish Rangers used their only available helicopter and dropped onto the deck in high winds. 2.2 tons of cocaine were recovered and 8 men have been jailed. But the organisation that tracks transatlantic shipments says Europe needs to do more, as 100 vessels suspected of trafficking drugs weren't even stopped last year.
We have intelligence of the vessel that's crossing the Atlantic. The problem right now we are mainly facing is not a lack of intelligence, it's a lack of interception vessels.
The Irish government says it is increasing defence spending by 55% and that it maintains a continuous presence and vigilance at sea. Dara McIntyre, BBC News.
Bahamians arrested for cocaine and migrant smuggling. ZNS's Felicity Darville reports.
8 Bahamian men, 5 who were on boats and 3 who were said to be involved in conducting counter-surveillance on land, are in the custody of United States authorities. It is expected that these men will be facing charges related to the transshipment of dangerous drugs as well as human trafficking, the result of a surveillance exercise that began in February of 2024. According to the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office in Florida, the investigation began on August 29th when authorities received intelligence that an Airbnb had been rented in Fort Pierce by a group of men who were planning to travel to the Bahamas to smuggle drugs and humans into the United States. The next day, around 5:30 a.m., 2 suspect vessels were seen leaving the Fort Pierce inlet, and later in the day, authorities learned that a third boat was involved and that all men were returning to the inlet from the Bahamas. Authorities then engaged in a maritime stop, the culmination of an investigation that started last year into what agents say is a transnational criminal organization based in Davie and allegedly run by 44-year-old Fierro Cooper. U.S. Coast Guard crews tracked the boats. The first, a 30-foot boat captained by 25-year-old Darren Sears. The boat did not stop for customs agents, and the agents then disabled its engines with gunfire. They reportedly found 104 kilos of cocaine packed in igloo coolers on the back deck of the boat, along with 12 migrants in the center cubby cabin of the vessel. The agent said 24-year-old Malik Delancey and 19-year-old Jeremiah Russell were on the second boat, which was found smuggling 6 migrants inside the cabin. The third vessel was allegedly operated by 52-year-old Ivan Curry. On board, agents found 7 suitcases under seat cushions in the back of the boat containing 64 kilos of cocaine. Agents said they also found 12 migrants on that boat. The 3 vessels were carrying a combined total of 31 Chinese migrants, including 2 minors, and 168 kilograms of cocaine. Attorneys for the men are investigating the complaint and are preparing to fight the charges in court.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick, in association with our friends at
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
ZNS's Desmond Saunders reports that a Bahamas Air captain has been relieved of his duties. Wait until you hear why.
Managing Director of Bahamas Air Tracy Cooper telling reporters during a press conference Monday afternoon that the male captain involved in that Sunday, August 25th incident has been relieved of his duties. His 12-year employment at the airline has been terminated with immediate effect.
A formal debriefing was scheduled for the following day, Monday. But prior to the debrief, Bahamas Air received voice messages determined to be from the captain in question, which were found to be inappropriate and inconsistent with the airline's professional standards. Bahamas Air maintains a zero-tolerance policy towards any form of an intimidation or unprofessional conduct.
Disciplinary action also taken against a captain for those disturbing voice messages. Days after came the now public standoff between the captain and his female co-pilot during what was expected to be a routine flight from Marsh Harbor, Abaco in West Palm Beach, Florida.
The captain in question was actually brought in because we had some concerns as to his level of management of the airplane. He was at that time advised and told what needed to be done, he needed to do to change his ways. And rather than take our advisement to him, he responded in the way that he did.
Mr. Cooper is standing firm that the incident is not a reflection of the airline's pilots, calling the majority of its flight teams skilled and professional.
We would hope that the traveling public would simply look at the record that has been there. Bahamas Air has been known for some of the best pilots in the world. These guys know how to fly airplanes and they know how to conduct themselves. Every now and then you would have somebody who's an outlier.
The Bahamas Air executive stresses that moving forward, the airline will continue to strengthen its cockpit management protocols and leadership development to ensure all crew meet the expectations of a national carrier. Desmond Sanders, The Bahamas Tonight.
It is all about achieving economic sovereignty in the context in the rise of global Africa, according to Dr. Terence Drew, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, as he made a presentation at the Intra-African Trade Fair that was held in Algiers, Algeria. Glenn Bart of SK Newsline reports.
The Intra-African Trade Fair, being hosted by the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria in Algiers, has significant support coming from the African Export-Import Bank in collaboration with the African Union Commission and AFCFTA Secretariat. Prime Minister Drew placed his remarks in the context of the experiences of the slave trade, colonialism, and the struggle towards independence, as he called now for developing, quote, transatlantic bridge of hope, where we reconnect the Caribbean and Africa, end quote.
I want to bring a message from the Caribbean that we are much integrated and we are much interested in bringing a greater relationship with Africa as the continent and its sixth region. This will help us to create opportunities for our people and to write a history, but a history not written by them, but a history written by us, for us, by us, for our own interests. And I will finally wrap up by saying, there are a few quotes that I heard today, and one of them came from the president. And he said that the African population is a youthful population. While other regions are aging, Africa is blooming. That is a great opportunity that we should take advantage of. I listened also to President Orama, and he quoted a great African leader. And he said, political power without economic power is glorified servitude. Those words are tremendous. And I listened to the deputy of the African Union when she said if we don't trust ourselves, in a sense, then we can't expect others to trust us. And my final quote as I make a call to action, that the train of the African upliftment and movement is moving. And I ask all of us to join it. Thank you very much.
Dr. Drew said recently that the emerging global Africa must deliver tangible benefits in trade, investment, cultural flourishing, and poverty reduction. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
CNC3's Jensen Lavenne tells us that police in Port of Spain are saying they arrested 10 people who were part of a plot to cause mayhem at the prison.
In a media release on Saturday, Police Commissioner Alistair Govaro stated that the arrest of 10 individuals are linked to the reason behind the state of emergency. Govaro says the coordinated plot to harm law enforcement was uncovered on Friday afternoon. He immediately contacted his DCP Suzette Martin, leading to the arrests. He adds that the men were caught with a stolen vehicle and a revolver, tools, he said, that are perfect for creating mayhem, but his officers were prepared.
They rolled in with their stolen wheels this morning and they borrowed bravado. But when misguided loyalty meets trained resolve, it is not the law that will flee. It is the law that will finish the job.
He stated that the arrest underscored the evolving tactics of criminal networks operating both within and beyond prison walls. He says police are monitoring known gang affiliates outside of custody who intend to execute the directives of their incarcerated leaders. But in a shocking twist, Acting Prison Commissioner Hayden Ford is disputing claims by the police service that the 10 people held outside ECRC were part of a plot to murder any prison officer. Ford says that is not the information he has.
My understanding is that persons were there to receive an individual who was being bailed. So it is not as though that someone or persons were there to treat it.
Following the police announcement, General Secretary of the Prison Officers Association, Lester Logie, is calling for increased security around the nation's prisons. Despite the conflicting information, he says officers are on the edge following this morning's arrests.
Persons are incarcerated against their will. These orders are preventative detention. And some persons are of the opinion that the state is unlawfully detaining them without charge. And the picture of the state they see is always the officer.
Ford says he understands that manpower may be an issue to treat with the association's request. Logie calls on Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar and Homeland Security Minister Roger Alexander to pass the necessary legislation to arm members of the protective services while off duty. Jensen Lavend, CNC3 News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.